So hi, everybody. We're back here with another interview from one of my readers, and this is one of my favorite readers, Larry Yarrington. He's very encouraging for me and always gives me feedback and always good, nice feedback. And it really has been encouraging to me over the past few years as I've been writing. So I appreciate that about you, Larry. And I've known Larry and Susan, his wife, Susan Yarrington, for how long do you think it's been, Larry?
Oh, it has been at least 20 years.
Yeah, I think you were
Maybe
around when
longer.
Berkeley was born, so at
Yeah.
least 25 years. Wow.
Yeah.
And Larry and his wife Susan have been instrumental in helping my husband and I not kill each other, which is good. Got some good counseling and advice from them over the years, and they've done life coaching and leadership at our church and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to let you tell people just a brief intro to yourself about what you do and where you're living and all that, and then we'll head into a blog post.
Well, basically, I am a retired guy, and I've had throat cancer, so that's why my voice is a little raspy, because they got the cancer, but it left my vocal cords a little damaged.
Well, it's okay. It's good. It's sexy, Larry. That's what it's like, sexy, raspy voice.
Yeah, I can kind of be the godfather.
That's right.
Yeah, make you an offer you can't refuse. But in my retirement, I think that I have found the time to do a lot more reading than I ever did before.
Mhm.
And a lot of it is about things that I really needed to learn about myself that I wish I had learned when I was much, much younger.
Mhm.
I wouldn't have been such a jerk had I learned those things, but I didn't. But in retirement, I've also learned to become a writer and post my stuff. I haven't published anything. I just posted on Facebook. And you are really a huge inspiration to me to put my thoughts together, to write my story, because I feel that's what you do. And then you draw something out of it that is a lesson learned. And so I love to do that with my writing as well, is to take a look at a situation and then say, what do I need to discover in all of this?
There's always something you can learn. And that's one of the reasons why. Tell us about the blog post that you chose, because that kind of this is a good segue into the post that we talked about a minute ago.
Okay, I read Don't Be a Jerk for Jesus, and I think it was the first installment of that. But it was basically a story that arose out of dealing with someone who, whether he was right or wrong, startled you. And so it didn't have the impact that maybe he wanted it to have. And so you put that together as the backstory. And then he said, here's what I learned from that. And of course, I chose it because I know that I am a guy just like the guy you dealt with, probably worse. Because I tend to speak without thinking about the effect it might have on other people that I'm talking to. I think, foolishly enough, and probably arrogantly, that I'm doing them a favor. But instead, I'm really causing them a lot of pain. And so I need to stop. And what that article did was give me some questions to stop and think about.
Mhm.
Like, do I need to say it? Or does it need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? Does it need to be said by me right now? And then there was another couple, let me refer to it. Does it need to be said by me with a judgmental, harsh, rude, arrogant, self-righteous, self-seeking attitude or tone? And of course, your answer was no, it does not ever. And so I had to stop and think about that and think about my own arrogance.
Mm.
But I think that we all have things to deal with. We have a backstory.
Mhm.
My backstory was really from my father, who, because of all my questions and curiosity that he didn't want to deal with, labeled me as stupid.
Mm.
And so I think I went to great efforts to educate myself and to continue to be educated on a lot of different things, to the point where I felt now I'm not stupid and I can tell you everything you need to know.
Now I have all the answers to all your problems.
And of course, that just was really stupid. So, getting this article and reading it was one of the stepping stones uh, of getting out of that lie that I was told by my father, innocently, I think, because I'm sure my father loved me and cared for me. He just didn't know what he did.
Mhm.
And so I determined not to be like my father, but became exactly like him.
Mm.
And so I had to relearn some things.
Yep.
This article was a starting point for me. Celebrate Recovery was a help. 12-step programs really helped me begin to ask some questions that I would have never asked outside of that same community.
Mhm. Well, you're a good example to people of someone who just continues to learn. So even though, it's kind of like our good qualities are always on a continuum. So when they're healthy, they're on the good end of that, and they, like, your thirst for knowledge and wanting to always be learning stuff. So when that's in check, it's a beautiful thing, because then you're learning and growing and writing and open to listening to me explain anything that might help you. You could easily just write that off. But when we're in unhealthy places, like you may have been in your past life, then
Sure.
it can be like that same knowledge can puff up and your
Yeah.
ego can get out of control and all that. So just that humility, and I know for you, you're just surrender before God to help you stay humble and surrendered and learning.
Yeah, I think it took some balance. Of course, marriage helps you do that.
Yes, it
You
does.
mentioned that before we started this interview, but certainly I look to my wife as being one of the ones who was very instrumental in dragging me out of that. And I'm sure that she had to suffer a great deal in order to teach me the lessons I needed to learn.
I know that my husband used to always say, Blake would say, he would quote Rick Warren, who would talk about how maybe marriage was designed more to make us holy than to make us happy.
Yes,
I
think
said,
so.
that's so, I said, I can think of a lot of other ways I can get holy. I don't need your help figuring it out. So it kind of backfired on him a little bit here and there, but.
Well, it does. It's hard to receive those things
Yeah.
from somebody that you want to totally respect you and admire you. adore
Think you
you.
walk on water and all that.
Yes, that's the deal.
Well, one of the things when we were talking about the Jerk for Jesus, because there's 2 in that series, and I just realized I kind of fell off my series because I had at least one more thing that I'm going to talk about. And that is, and I'll just give people, I guess, a preview or sneak peek of that, because the thing that I ended with or concluded as I, let that stuff roll around in my head was that I think I read this in a recovery book somewhere, but it basically says there's always one fact more in every person's situation that if we knew it, we would suspend judgment. And
Yes,
I
yes,
just try to think of that, when someone, even if they are at a Christian book expo collecting books, even when they're acting that way, that you have to start to think what has happened in you or to you, or what's not happening. What don't I know that is causing someone to just react this harshly to a stranger about something that they created? Or, but that happens all the time, everywhere I go. When someone's rude to me or someone snaps at me, instead of taking things personal that perhaps have nothing to do with me, I can step back and ask myself, and just pray for them and know that there's probably a reason behind it and not take it personal. So that's kind of my conclusion in the end of all of that.
yeah, I think it's a great way to end, because all the others are practical suggestions of how to overcome something. But in the final analysis, if you can't get to that last one,
Right.
What don't I know?
Right.
That if I knew, I would suspend judgment.
Right. And because in the process, we watch other people being judgmental or being rude, and they're a judgmental type of Christian, and in judging them, we become a different kind of judgmental jerk for Jesus. We're doing it back to them. So, no one wins in that situation.
Yeah, we certainly can't be an influence for Jesus in that situation. I was reading in John this morning about his prayer for his disciples. And one of the things that seemed very profound in that prayer is that we just can't do it on our own. Everything else, everything that you say or I say or is written in books of wisdom, even in the Bible, will not make a difference if we're not connected to the source of love and kindness. Because we just do not have that intrinsically in ourselves.
No.
I'd like to think I do, but I always fall short somehow. I can think of a situation just last night where Susan and I got crossways a bit, and I won't bore you with the whole story on that. But it was her thinking I meant something that I didn't, and I got upset because she asked a clarifying question.
How dare she?
Wasn't I clear before? And so I find that's also, we all have a past, and so we hear things in a particular way depending on our past.
Yeah.
And we have to stop a moment and say, am I reading that right? Or should I ask a clarifying question? And in my case, not get upset when somebody else asks me a clarifying question when I think I have spoken with perfect clarity.
Right. Yeah. Man, it's all about getting our ego out of there, really in the end of it, and trying to see people through the lens that God sees people, instead of filtering, everything that happens to us through our lens that are cracked and broken and foggy.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I am on Facebook. I'm Facebook friends with a couple of guys who write and post things that I absolutely disagree with
Mhm.
from their fundamental premise. Yet in the action and in the way they do life, I absolutely agree with them.
Mhm.
That it is the right attitude, it is the right way to think.
Mhm.
They just want to kind of discount the spirit in any of that. But I think the fundamental way we connect, as no other creature created by God can connect, is spiritually.
Mhm.
My
Yeah.
spirit can connect with you. But in order to do that, that is a very difficult process.
Yeah. Yep. It's got to let people, one of the things I've learned through my leukemia journey and some other kind of tough stuff in my world is that God is a big boy, and he has a job for me to do, and that is to love on people and give them the dignity of being where they're at with him at any given time, and that he's chasing after them. It's not my job to chase them down. It's God's job to chase them and capture them and love them. But I can't do that chasing, and it's just been a relief for me, I guess, to realize that it isn't my job to do that. That I just have to be kind and loving and authentic and vulnerable with people, period. And then he does all that.
And that comes through so well in your writings.
Mhm.
I've read your book and, of course, a number of your blogs. I have not read your second book yet. I'm looking forward to that. But what comes through is the authentic person.
Mhm. Well,
Um,
I
it's
hope so.
authenticity. Yes, it is.
Mhm.
And it comes through because it's your story.
Right. Exactly. You can't
And
really argue with someone's story. You can
no,
argue about what I believe, I guess, if you feel like it, but you can't argue with my story or your story. It's
yeah,
yours.
yeah. Well, you can, but it doesn't make
Yeah, I
much
guess you
sense
can.
to.
Yeah.
Because I find that with my personality, I can find a way to argue about anything. But I think that you're right. You really have to go to the farthest reaches of your mind in order to find some means for arguing with somebody's story
Mhm.
because it's theirs.
Right.
What do I know about their
Right.
story
Right.
and how it gets processed in their brain?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, when we, just for people who are listening, when I get off here, Larry, if there's anything you want to send to me so people can find you on Facebook and read some of the things that you're writing, so that when you have your book coming out, which we know you'll do, then we'll be able to find you more easily. But I think some people will be encouraged about what you write. So I'll put your Facebook page out there if you don't mind.
Sure, that
Let
would be
people
fine.
find and
Yeah.
read the things, the observations that you have. A lot of them are in nature based on where you live. They're always Larry and Susan are always hiking. I'm so jealous every time I see that. Hiking in Illinois is not hiking. It's like going for a walk on a long path.
Yes, yes.
Hiking is kind of fake around here. We have to travel to do that. So,
Yep.
all right. Well, I appreciate you spending time with me this afternoon, Larry. It was good to catch up with you, and hopefully I'll get to see you again in person really soon.
Yeah, I think we'll probably be coming back to Illinois for our oldest grandson's Seth, his high school graduation.
Okay.
So we might be able to connect with you guys then.
All
Hope
right.
so.
That sounds good. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, love ya.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye.